Welcome to the Move the Stairs, episode 79. We're recording on Friday, March 31st, 2023 at this beautiful Broadmoor Hotel in Colorado Springs.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. We're attending the ninth annual NoCo Hemp Expo this week. For nearly a decade, NoCo has brought together all kinds of international business leaders, government leaders, agriculture, academia, nonprofits, media members, and people from the general public. And the idea is to kind of collaborate and talk through some important initiatives and opportunities for the hemp industry over the next year or so.
Yeah, it's fun to be recording on one microphone, but we are definitely getting comfortable with one another too. We're like, hey,
I'm just moving back here, guys. Go right ahead.
But this year's event, it's just so critical for industry stakeholders and thought leaders to get together, share their messaging, unite their voices, especially as we look ahead, to the 2023 Farm Bill, along with potential other federal regulations that may or may not be coming with Congress a little bit later on this year, especially when we're talking about hemp, agriculture, CBD, other cannabinoids, synthetic driven or derived cannabinoids. It's going to be a pretty hot topic, I think, as we continue on through 2023.
Absolutely. So let's get started on what kind of the big things that came out of our listening room were. So you know that one of the biggest challenges for every CBD or hemp company is building customer loyalty. And this is at a time when when there's so many companies that are in the production and you can choose from any of them. So how do you get your customers to come back to you? And that's something that we talk to people about in our listening room.
Yeah, a lot of players, a lot of competition out there. So one of our guests at our listening room, where we're just getting an idea what concerns them right now, is the founder of AOC Beauty. If you're not familiar with AOC, it's EOSSI, by the way, pronounced AOC. It's a luxury vegan plant-based skincare products. It's U.S. source hemp. It's formulated and made right here in Colorado. So one of the key takeaways from me, when we talked to the folks at AOC, what they shared with us is they not only focus on engaging with the public, their customers or potential customers, but also they were engaging with other people in the industry. Yes, they're all competing, but rather than pretend like the other ones aren't there, they were trying to engage with one another, and that helped them learn and move forward their own ideas as well.
Yeah, that was great. We also talked a lot about influencers, and when we were talking to AOC, Shannon, who's the founder, actually has a number of companies. And so she looks for influencers that speak to those specific target audiences for each company. But we also heard from a lot of our other people, a lot of the other people that we talked to about, micro influencers came up time and time again. How do you get the most bang for your buck? And where are you going to make that impact with your audience? Very few of them were using big celebrities.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah,
most of them were using those micro influencers, and it's not so hard to find them, especially if you use hashtags, right, Jordan? I mean, that's how we find them when we're looking for them.
Yeah, and I think too, playing in that space of influencers and getting people who are authentic and representing your brand. You can cut somebody a check, a blank check, essentially, that could be a major A-list Hollywood celebrity. But will it really resonate with, your target audience and people who are looking and maybe buying from you, your product or your service, because, they may not be that kind of authentic voice that you're looking for to represent.
Say authenticity. Yeah. Geez, like, do I really believe that Jay-Z's going to, whoever it is. Right. Yeah, exactly.
And if you spend all your money on one influencer who may have, hundreds of thousands of followers, but are they the people who are really going to go out and buy your product? Right. And as you're building your brand, it's really important that you speak to those people. So I thought that was great.
Yeah, and what's interesting too, when you're playing in the influencer space, it kind of takes the pressure off of you for social media a little bit. And that just from the people that we've talked to, it's still a huge pain point in the industry.
Right.
You've seen Google recently relax restrictions, Twitter relax restrictions when it comes to advertising CBD products, but you still have issues when you're posting organic content too. And getting an organic following is difficult enough,
Right.
but also having to be really, really careful about what you're posting, whether it's, something as benign as education or something that may approach that line that you don't want to cross in terms of promotion. And, what we found was a lot of these companies are still having a really difficult time trying to carve out the time to do it, to make it worth their while. And at this point, it's like, if it's going to come down to posting something on Facebook where A, it may get flagged, B, it may not get a lot of engagement, or doing your day-to-day operations and fulfilling orders. I mean, you're going to go fulfill orders every single time.
Absolutely.
So I thought that was fascinating.
Yeah.
How many times have we talked to a company? We say, hey, so what do you do in terms of social? And they kind of look at us sheepishly and say, well, I know I need to do more, but I'm so busy with the day-to-day. Right. And this is where maybe an authentic influencer like this could be of service to you, to help you out.
And by the way, I mean, I don't know if any consumers watch our videos or podcasts, but these people bust their backside. I was amazed, at the number of companies we talked to yesterday, and we asked them, how many employees do you have?
3, 4, 5.
Right. A dozen. And we just look at each other. We're like, how do you do so much with so few people?
Okay, but wait a minute. How many employees do I have? Hello?
It is possible.
You're right. We bust our butts as entrepreneurs.
But it's fascinating. And they really do knock it out of the park.
They do. Absolutely.
They work hard.
Well, we are all former journalists at M&C Communications. You know this by now. We go out of our way to help prepare our clients to take advantage of every media opportunity that presents itself, and we help position them as industry leaders. We call that insider media relations. And that was a hot topic yesterday, Mitch.
It was, because we asked the folks that sat down with us in our listening room, said, look, how many of you, do you have a relationship with a reporter, a journalist from whatever platform, that when something big arises, they would turn to you first? And almost everyone, except one said, oh, yeah, I don't. Again, I'm busy with my day-to-day. I don't want to deal with the media. Well, if something does come up, do you want your competitor to be featured?
Right.
Or would you like to be the one they turn to as the thought leader?
Right. And I will say that was Franny from Franny's Pharmacy, and she's really got her business dialed in an amazing way. Every time we asked her a question, we're like, yes, that's exactly it.
That would be our answer.
She's
yes.
so great. So that was very cool. The other thing we talked to them about were holding statements. So if you have a problem or a crisis, and I did find it very interesting, is that I would throw out, or you guys would throw out, have you thought about this potential thing that could happen with your company? And the looks on their faces, because who wants to think about that stuff, right? But if you do think about it, and this is what we talked about, and you have a holding statement. So remember, a holding statement is about 3 lines that says, we acknowledge that such and such happened. There's always a bit of compassion in the statement too, especially if somebody was hurt, that we, we are really sorry for the pain that has been caused by whatever it was, and that we are on this, we are working it, we are researching it, and we're going to be back to you probably in about an hour with some kind of an update. But if you go to Twitter, that is where all of our updates will be. So if you want more information, we want you to go to Twitter, because, and why do we say that? Because that's where the journalists are.
That's where the reporters are watching.
And so if you do that, then you're kind of telling people, yes, we acknowledge there was a problem. You are not taking any responsibility yet, because we don't maybe not even know what the problem is.
Still under investigation.
That's right. But it's under investigation. But we know, yes, we know about it. We're not saying no comment. We're not ignoring it. We're actually working really hard on it. And that gives a lot of calm to a lot of people when they know, especially if you've already done some really great PR and you filled that trust bucket, when they're like, okay, there may be a problem that happened. And let's be honest, every business is going to have a problem. There's not any business that's not going to have a problem at some point. So, but these people are on it, and I know them and I trust them. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and give them a little bit of time, because we know in the Twitterverse or anywhere on social media, all that work that you've done on reputation can be absolutely destroyed in 3 minutes. That's it. 3 minutes is all it takes if you're not ready to move. And so if you have a statement that's ready to go, where you can just insert the right words, then you've got something out there and everybody says, okay, they're working this. And that gives that sense of calm, and it really engenders that trust that they're doing something.
And it's easier for you too, because in the heat of the moment, like, oh my gosh, what about it? What do we do? What do we do? Oh my gosh, somebody got hurt or something happened. If you're doing it today before it happens, you can thoughtfully, hey, let's make sure to mention that we do this, this, and this. Let's make sure to mention our safety record, whatever. And then when you have that little template, like you said, then you can plug in the different words depending on the situation. You're ready to go, but you're creating it when things are calm and things are going well, and you're basically telling your customers and your audience, we understand, we're on it, and they'll they'll trust you and they'll know that
Well,
you're there for them.
I also thought it was interesting that when it came to packaging, everybody was really proud of the packaging and the safety measures that have been put into the
Right.
packaging.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, is that story somewhere so that you can pull that story immediately and say,
Did you know we do this?
This
Yes.
is what
Yeah.
we have thought about this. Now, out of our control, something may have happened over here,
Mhm.
but this is how much we thought about this. This is how much of a priority we put on this. Again, that kind of takes some of the sting out of it. It may still feel really bad to you, but it's not going to be nearly as serious from the perspective of the consumer or from the perspective of the journalist if they know that you've already put things in place and you've told them about them.
Yeah, it just causes you to stop and think about the procedures you already have in place, because you may think of it like, oh, that's my day-to-day business. That's vanilla. No, actually, it could be very important.
Right.
How you proceed, how you put your packaging together,
Right.
the pride you take in doing it the right way.
Mhm.
It may seem like old hat to you, but that's important to share.
Those are huge stories to put on your website and
Right.
have available. Yeah.
And I was just going to say, Diane, you mentioned the trust bucket earlier. And, if I'm watching this, I'm like, well, how do I fill the trust bucket, right? Like, how do I tell my story? And that was, kind of the overwhelming theme from yesterday too, was you had all these incredible stories from these incredible companies. You want to talk about resilient brands who
Yes.
survived, the COVID shutdown, who survived the hemp crash of 2019 into 2020.
The prices, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're still here. I mean, these are the people who
That's right.
are working to fill day-to-day orders, and they may not have time to tell their story. Or let's be real, we're all former media, so we know how that, we know how to tell stories, and we know how these reporters think and how they want to be approached about a story. And a company may get discouraged. They may have a really cool story, but if it's not presented the right way, that email could be missed, which would be a missed opportunity, and that might discourage you, right?
Well, yes, and I also think time is always such a huge issue
Right.
for the people that listen to this podcast.
Mhm.
And so writing the story
Mhm.
where we might be able to write it in less than an hour and get
Right.
out that first draft,
Right.
for lots of people, that's like a whole morning.
It's not the comfort zone. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
exactly. So I think that's another situation too, where it's like, oh, I just don't have time. You may not have time, but it's so important that you have that. And I promise you, you will sleep better at night
Mhm.
by doing these things, right?
Well, and even putting it down on paper, you all of a
Exactly.
sudden start realizing, oh, it's like, yes, we
Mhm.
do
Yeah,
this,
we do
this.
exactly.
I'm very proud that I did this
That's
and
right.
that. And it just causes you, it's like journaling in some sense.
Yeah.
You get your story down on paper and then you can kind of craft it and share it with people.
We've heard time and again from guests on this podcast who are reporters in the cannabis space where, they want to have a cool story offered to them. But what I would say to our listeners of the podcast is, if you had a competitor that's on, with a really neat story, don't be bashful or, don't be, gun shy to offer your story to media, because the reality is consumers, they'll read that story and then a week later, like, they're ready for the next thing.
Right.
So maybe that next thing is your story to tell.
Absolutely.
But to your point, if you see a story done on your competitor
Mhm.
and you could, it's nothing wrong with writing that journalist or call them, say, hey, I saw your story on XYZ. I just want to let you know at my company, we also ... and thought you might be interested. The reporter may be like, hallelujah, I need a story idea anyway.
Exactly.
You just gave legs to this story. It's an interesting topic, whatever it may be. So like, oh, he already did the story on another company, I guess I'm out. No, not necessarily.
No, they have to have new stories every day.
Every day,
So,
yeah.
exactly. Okay, so let's look ahead to the next episode on Move the Stairs. We're gonna chat. I'm very excited about this, with a reporter who is talking. She writes for Terpenes and Testing magazine. She
Mhm.
works for My Cannabis, so she's going to give her views,
Lots of
just like we were
experience.
talking about,
Yeah.
on how to pitch her and what she's looking for. And remember, that's always a big deal for the reporters, is to come up with great ideas, and you have those stories.
Yeah, you have the stories out there.
Yep.
Well, also under one of our pillars in the CBD, the business owners, hemp owners are constantly on the lookout for ways to strengthen, right, their business and, whether the threats to their reputation, the threats to the industry out there. And so we help clients find that opportunity. And even if it's a challenge, turn it into an opportunity.
Right.
And secure their reputation, prepare for the unexpected. So we call all that building a resilient CBD or hemp brand.
Right. And one of the things we asked our guests at NoCo was, what industry challenge was most likely to impact your business in the next 3 to 6 months? And remember, we always look at that time frame for you to be prepared for what's coming down. We asked about inflation and interest rates. We asked about shipping costs and packaging costs. And we also asked about players outside of the cannabis industry and the Farm Bill. What was interesting to me is that all of them, it was an
They said yes to all of them, yeah.
Right? It was, but Mitch, the players outside of the cannabis industry, we had some people who talked about that, and that was a very interesting conversation.
Yeah, and by that we basically meant, a lot of these people put their blood, sweat, and tears in this. They've been in it since the beginning, and as we know, it's an industry that potentially has an area where you can make some money. So there are some players that will dive in, try to make a quick buck, and get out. All the more reason, as we just said, to talk about your story and why you're here. So we heard from several people that said, yep, you know what? The number one concern for me is the bad actors.
Yeah.
The ones that are maybe not using the best ingredients, maybe not really being completely authentic about how they're going about putting their product together. And they're just here to make a buck, and they're going to get out. By golly, we're here for the long haul. When we talked to Franny, Franny's Pharmacy, she said, we're very mission driven. And the way she put it is, I'm not out to grow fast. She could, because she's really got her act together and she has a wonderful product. But she says, I want to keep growing like a plant. Just take my time and make it be stronger and stronger.
And put those roots down, no
Put those
matter
roots
what.
down.
So no matter what comes and hits me, I have those strong roots. I might even get knocked down, but I'm going to be able to get back up because those roots are there.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting too, and this snowballs nicely into another pain point a lot of these companies had was regulation. I mean, one person we talked to yesterday, he said, listen, I'm a libertarian and I want regulation. And, that really stuck with me because it exemplifies how badly this industry wants the federal government to do something, anything.
Yes, please give us
the rules
guidelines
down so everybody gets to play from the same rules and they know what game they're playing.
Exactly. And, unfortunately for them, the people who are here at this conference, Mitch, to your point, they've been here since the beginning, or they've invested blood, sweat, and tears into this industry, and they are the real authentic players. These are the people who are spending the money to showcase, how their product goes from, seed to plant. They're showing how they're cleanly extracting cannabinoids. They're showcasing, everything. You can look through the window and see their entire process. And for them, that costs a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And they can get undercut by these other businesses that aren't doing things the right way, or maybe getting shut down by the FDA and then coming back under a new name, essentially operating under the same company.
Again, if we had tighter, or we had regulation guidelines, you would get rid of some of those bad.
Well, how about we talk to one food company? They employ veterans. They give back to the community. They're ready to move because they've grown so much.
They could expand if they wanted to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they're not going to expand because they don't know what the next shoe is to drop as far as regulations. That hurt my heart.
Yes.
Because here they are, they're doing everything right. They were talking about the purity of their ingredients, the pride that came from these people about how hard they were working to give the very best product that they could give. And not only that, now they're now nationwide but they're tapped out as far as they're making as much as they can possibly make. They're selling all of it. But is it worth $2 to $4 million to expand when you don't know
what the future holds?
Yes, you don't know if there's going to be a new state regulation.
So the lack of regulation is stifling business growth.
Exactly.
Because when we asked that same person, what's the key to your business? And we said something like ingredient, and they were in a food company. He said the key ingredient for me is reputation.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
he says, I've got that. I want to maintain that, but I'm a little too scared to go out on the limb because I don't know what's going on with the government. What are they going to do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So as you can see, we just had a fabulous time talking to all the wonderful people we talked to. We're going back out again today. Mitch is going to put together a white paper. I'm pretty excited about that you'll be able to see on our website in probably about 2 weeks. And you may see some press on that because we're going to put out a press release on it. So that's really fun. And, coming here to NoCo has just been, they welcomed us with open arms, which is so kind. We've talked to so many people in so many parts of the industry, which was really, really fun. And I can't wait for us to come back again next year. It
is going to be fun because we had talked to people that were in the construction area of hemp, and cosmetics and foods and supplements. But they all kind of work together to try to move this industry forward. So it's neat to see their camaraderie, even though they're competing.
I don't know, guys. I would say they are moving the stairs.
I would
There you go. Good reference.
That's right. Hey, thanks so much for joining us today. We hope we gave you kind of an inside look at what the top topics were. Do you like that? Top topics?
Top topics.
Top topics.
Say that fast.
That's right. At NoCo, and we're really interested to see where this all goes. And I promise you, we'll keep you apprised as we go along.
All right.